Ryan, congratulations, man. This movie is hugely entertaining. You should feel very proud. How are you feeling now? Because, like, you've been through all sorts of levels of success and disappointment over the years. Do you know when, like, it's clicking? Like, at this point, do you feel it in your bones? Like, yeah, we made it to the finish line. We made what we set out to make.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't pretend to be an expert on any of that stuff. I love what I do. I love telling stories. I mean, this is a unique opportunity to put up, a huge tentpole summer blockbuster, but that one that's an original. And that's an increasingly rare opportunity these days. Most things are obviously based on comic books and IPs and sequels, all things that I love and are also my bread and butter. But at the end of the day, having an opportunity to do something like Free Guy, which hits hard comedically in an action sense and emotionally, man, that just doesn't come along that often. And I don't know anything about why some things work and why some things don't, but this movie is easily my favorite movie that I've ever had out in the marketplace, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Talk to me a little bit about playing Guy, because I haven't seen you play this kind of a character before. It's a far cry from Deadpool, obviously, who's acerbic and cynical. Guy is the other end of the spectrum. He's gee whiz. He's open-hearted. Does that come as naturally to you? Is it as rewarding and fun to play Guy as it is Wade Wilson?
Oh, for sure. I mean, ironically, they have a lot more in common than you would think. I mean, being, acerbic and subversive like Deadpool and weird, in certain contexts, it avails you to say and do things that are so inappropriate, but the same could be said for somebody who's just a complete innocent and naive. You get to sort of walk right into trouble in ways that you wouldn't expect. So they're more similar than I think one might realize.
It kind of alludes to another thing I was thinking about, which is like, I'm watching this movie, and again, it works just on every level, but it's also about some pretty heady stuff. I mean, it's about free will. It's like, is this your way of telling us that you think we're living in a simulation, Ryan? Where do you stand on the issue?
Hey, by the way, I know it's a hotly contested debate, the simulation thing. I have no idea if we're living in a simulation. If we are, that's freaking terrifying. But there are themes that we explore that I think are quite resonant and relevant to everything that we see today. I mean, the whole reason the movie got made was, both Sean and I had been hoping to work together for a long time. We had a couple of near misses. This came along and it just felt like such an antidote to everything you're seeing in the constant news cycle that is just doom and gloom. And just the whole movie felt like a fastball of joy. I just really was desperate to make a movie that allowed audiences to walk out of a theater smiling and with a skip in their step. And you can smuggle themes that are really resonant and important into works like that. It's not easy, but you do it. And I think those are the connective tissues that sort of make the movie something you want to revisit over and over again. It's the emotional stuff that pulls you back in.
Where do you come down on the controversial subject of interspecies relationships, i.e. a real life character maybe making out, having relations with a video game character? I mean, I remember back in my day, it was like Jessica Rabbit. Am I allowed to have feelings for Jessica Rabbit?
Right. And yes, I think you are allowed to have feelings with Jessica Rabbit. I don't think you're going to have a significant and rewarding relationship with Jessica Rabbit. But no, I think it's something we explore in the movie. It actually is like a kind of sows the seeds for some pretty big comedic set pieces in our movie. My character isn't fully aware for a big chunk of the movie that he is in fact an NPC or a background character in a video game. Right. He sort of realizes that he's growing in weird ways and wants things that he didn't want previously. So yeah, he falls in love with Millie, who's played by Jodie Comer in the movie, or Molotov Girl in the in-game part, and really wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And for a wide variety of reasons, realizes it's not that easy.
There's another character you play in this that is immediately one of my favorites that you've ever played, Dude, who must have just been fantastically cathartic to play. If I were a 14-year-old boy seeing this movie for the first time, I would be screaming catchphrase for the rest of the year. That would be like my mantra.
I think that was a Taika ad lib. Dude's a late entry. I mean, really, it was I mean, there's a great expression of listen to your movie, it'll speak to you. And Sean and I would be traveling back and forth on the trains from New York to Boston. We were commuting while making the movie, and we would do rewrites sitting on the train, both of our laptops opposite each other. And Dude was someone who we put in the movie after we'd already started shooting, actually, just because we needed somebody tangible for my character to fight. because the big bad boss is Taika's character who lives in the real world. There's no reason I would ever get to square off against him. So we conceived of Dude, and we thought we just were so happy with how that turned out. It was to get to fight an upgraded version of myself with just all muscle, teeth, and highlights. It was pretty unique and special. So
there are a lot of cool cameos and references in the film. I'm not going to ruin the fun surprises in it, but fair to say there are references at least to the MCU, to Star Wars, at least references. Did you grow up like wanting to be both a superhero and a Jedi? You're in the MCU. You're not quite a Jedi yet, but like, did you dream of those kind of things as a kid?
For sure. What kid doesn't? I mean, you know, I grew up watching Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all these, you know, those movies that took you completely out of your own reality. And, you know, I would spend hours and hours every day just living in my head as those characters. So, you know, those things are really meaningful to me. And the fact that, you know, Disney owns 20th Century Studios, which is the studio that initially made Free Guy, availed us to things that we would not, you know, under any other circumstances have available to us.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So is there a chance at some point down the road, it's a long career, the Jedi days are not behind you. There are 18,000 Disney plus Star Wars shows. Is it a secret dream or not so secret dream still to be playing that universe?
I feel like that box gets ticked for me just watching those movies. I'm such a fan of those movies. You know, as I've gotten older, I realized that I don't have to do everything in order to experience it. You know, you can just be a fan. So that's exactly what I am. I am a fan of Star Wars. I have no I don't wake up in the morning thinking, how do I get myself in a Star Wars movie? Right. You know, I would definitely play a stormtrooper if asked, you know, in the deep background, done. But, you know, anything else is, it's all just gravy. I'm just lucky to be a working actor. So.
Well, speaking of that, like, I'm curious, I assume by now your audition days are behind you, but I'm always curious when an actor gets to a certain level, like, did you know when you were doing your last audition? Like, at the time you're like, this might be the last one I ever have to do.
No. And it's funny that you say that because I just experienced that. I can only kind of map that onto my personal life with my kids, whereas like my oldest daughter is 6. You know, she's getting a little bit bigger. I've done a lot of stunts in my day and I have a pretty bad neck. And I remember thinking, God, I don't know when the last time was that I had her on my shoulders. So I try to do that now where I try to think, okay, well, if this is the last time I'm going to do something, try to mark it, you know? I remember I picked up my daughter and I put her on my shoulders despite my neck begging to not do it, just so I knew when the last time was, you know? I was like, I'm going to know it was this time. Oh, walking on the pier at this, So I don't know when. I couldn't even tell you what my last audition was. I don't even know, so. That's an uptown problem, by the way. I realized that that's way uptown problem. So,
I'm curious. I mean, I was looking back at like the many conversations we've had over the years. I think the first time we chatted was 14 years ago, Sundance. It was for the Nines. Elle Fanning, I think, was like an embryo sitting next to you. When you look back at like the ups and downs, when you take these moments to kind of have some perspective, are the ups and the downs kind of easier to manage with a little bit more perspective? Did you take it more to heart 10 years ago or 12 years ago? I'm talking career stuff and like things that, like, again, with the best of intentions don't click, and stuff that even exceeds your expectations.
No, look, I know it sounds like a completely like, you know, shithead kind of canned answer, but I always felt lucky that I got to work in this business. I mean, my highest expectation when I moved to Los Angeles as a you know, a late teenager, I was 19 or 20, was to be in Groundlings. That was like what I really wanted to do. I wanted to do improv comedy and Groundlings, and then hopefully the Empyrean Heights for me would be that I was a wacky neighbor on a sitcom, you know, or something like that, where I had a steady job working at something I love. And so, you know, my expectations have always been quite minimal. So exceeding the expectations has always felt really awesome, you know? And I can't say I've ever thought, oh, this sucks, I don't like starring in movies. Or if a movie didn't work for whatever, a variety of reasons, I didn't think like, oh, well, that's just unfair or something. That's just a stupid way of looking at it. I'm very lucky to get to do what I do. You know, I know a lot of people who don't get to do what they love, you know, so I try not to take it for granted.
And last thing for you, I know you're in the middle of shooting with one of my favorite human beings on the planet, Will Ferrell. This sounds awesome. This is a big holiday musical. Has Hugh Jackman given you tips on singing? Are you going to out-sing Hugh? What can we expect of Ryan Reynolds full-on song and dance man in this movie?
Well, I don't try to compete with Hugh in that arena. He has decades of experience, but I did get some tips from him He was actually very, very helpful in sort of figuring out how to do this, mostly because I was nervy about it. I didn't doing something that new and that different, at this stage in my career and life was scary, but thankfully I have a partner in Will Ferrell who feels the same way. So, we've been in dance camp and singing camp together for months. We are now finally shooting the movie, and it's been nothing but a blast. It's been just so truly amazing.